Are you new to the retro gaming scene and looking for a cheap but quality product to get yourself into this hobby? Or are you like me, a fanatic who can't turn down a good deal? Either way, this video is for you, as we're going to be taking a look at my #1 preferred budget-friendly handheld that is sub $100 to play retro games on, that being the Ayaneo Pocket Air Mini. Hey guys, I'm Luke and welcome back to another episode of Triforcedtech, as in this one we're going to be taking a look at my #1 recommended handheld for those who want to play retro games on a budget, that being the Ayaneo Pocket Air Mini, as this surpasses any and all sub $100 handhelds, and I'll get into exactly why. So the Ayaneo Pocket Air Mini is actually Ayaneo's first budgeted handheld, being less than $100, and actually paid less than $100 to have it shipped to my doorstep, so including shipping along with a carrying case. So yeah, it's really hard not to recommend this handheld. Now, up until the Ayaneo Pocket Air Mini, the cheapest handheld Ayaneo was selling before that was the Pocket Micro, and this is meant to emulate Game Boy Advance games, as it has the exact same aspect ratio as the Game Boy Advance, just ×3 the resolution, which makes Game Boy Advance games feel so premium on this. And while this screen isn't a 1-to-1 with the Game Boy Advance aspect ratio, it's actually in 4:3, which is the exact aspect ratio of games that ran on CRTs, which makes it perfect for old school retro gaming like the SNES, NES, PlayStation 1, PlayStation 2, N64, and really anything else that you would have played on a CRT. Now, of course, with this being sub $100, it can't play PlayStation 2 and GameCube and Wii that well, but overall, if you do tinker with it, you'll be able to play most of the games you want on it, and at least when it comes to classic games like NES, SNES, N64, and obviously the Game Boy line, you can play those without any compromises. Now, before I demo any games and show how retro gaming looks and plays on this, let's talk about its specs. Now, it has a 4.2-inch display, which is pretty big for a pocket-sized handheld like this, and the resolution is 1280 by 960, essentially 720p, which is really good, as you can get 3 times the resolution on N64 and PlayStation 1, and honestly everything in terms of pixel art looks so good on this. Of course, with this price point, don't expect an OLED screen, but the colors are still really good in person. My camera doesn't do it justice, but it doesn't look as grayed out as it does on the lens. It looks so much cleaner, and yeah, you're not really gonna miss out on it not having OLED. The retro games it plays, it displays really well. In terms of cooling, it has its own active cooling fan that will automatically turn on when needed. You don't have to mess around with it or anything. And for the most part, the device stays pretty cool as long as you're not charging and playing at the same time. I would highly advise against that. Speaking of battery, it has a 4,500 milliamp battery, which is about the same size as many modern Android phones and all other retro devices. So you're not gonna really feel like you're gonna need to charge this often, probably once a day, even if you are doing heavy gaming, unless it's games like GameCube or PlayStation 2, that may drain the battery a little bit faster. In terms of the ergonomics and feel of this device, it is so nice on the hands for being really small and pocket friendly. The ergonomics they have with these bumps make the grip just feel really nice, and of course with it being a wider form factor like a Game Boy Advance, I really appreciate it because I won't get many hand cramps. I guess the only issue would be, for it being so pocket friendly, they had to give us like these half-sized analog sticks, and when playing analog centric games, yeah, it does feel a little bit weird, especially with it not being analog-centric. The D-pad, of course, is on top, because most games you're going to be playing will be with the D-pad. I mean, yeah, if you're playing retro games, you don't really need the analog sticks, but it's nice that you have them, unlike, again, that being the Pocket Air Micro. Now, there is a version of this with analog sticks, but the biggest issue with that was it lost its pocketability, and that's why I decided to get this one, even though I don't have the analog sticks and it really limits my game choice. They definitely remedied that issue by giving us the best of both worlds. Because yeah, I still have the analog sticks and I'll be able to not be limited to only D-pad centric games. I'll be able to play those games, but also they're not that big and protruding, so it's still pocket friendly, it still does the job, and you can pretty much forget they even exist when playing retro games, because yeah, they don't really get in my way, which is again super nice. And of course, I gotta point out the fact that there are LED lights behind the analog sticks, which seems to be the new norm for retro handhelds, and I do not mind. You can customize this with Ayaneo software. You can have it have different colors, you know, pick any color you want, or even have it be animated by like breathing, which is super nice. It's kind of like a keyboard. This is all just a nice little cherry on top. I mean, it adds some customization to your device. It's not necessarily needed, but I mean, yeah, with this being sub $100 and having that on top of it, it really adds to how premium this device feels. Another thing that really adds to how premium this device feels is the fact that it has analog Hall effect triggers, which, yeah, lets you play GameCube games the way they're intended to be played, so you're not really given any limitations in that regard, again, compared to their more pocket-friendly, you know, Pocket Micro. You didn't have analog triggers. Hell, you had the weird bumpers like this, which, yeah, again, it's really nice to have, and it feels ergonomically so comfortable. And actually, the analog sticks as well are Hall effect, so they feel super nice and won't have any drift issues later on. But yeah, altogether, like, the device in itself feels so good. Of course, again, because it's so cheap, it has not the best chipset for, again, games like GameCube, but don't worry, anything before GameCube when it comes to Nintendo runs flawlessly on this, and if you're looking for just, you know, early on retro gaming, then this device is more than enough for you. Now, what makes this device stand out to me in comparison to all the other sub 100 retro handhelds, outside of course, Ayaneo's signature quality that makes it feel beyond premium, is the fact that this runs Android. So with Android being its operating system, you gain access to the Play Store, which allows you to download all sorts of Android games, as well as the emulators you need, and I mean, it becomes a multimedia device as you can download apps including TikTok, YouTube, everything. So yeah, not only does it become a retro handheld, but it becomes a full-on smartphone just without a SIM card. And while to some that might not be a selling point because you might be buying it specifically for retro games, being able to switch your launcher like to Emulation Station or the built-in one that Ayaneo has with Ayaneo Space is just so nice because everything you can do remotely through your actual device. Like, I can go open up Chrome and download some games, you know, ROMs, whatever I want, all seamlessly just through the actual device, which is so convenient because, yeah, if you have, you know, a dumbed down Linux base, you know, handheld, which I understand that essentially Android is Linux and it's a kernel and whatever, but my point is that, yeah, the ones that are usually sub $100 won't let you run Android because the chipset won't be strong enough, and because of that, you're gonna lose access to everything I mentioned and more, like the fact that we can just put this in standby mode and not have to worry for days, barely any battery will be depleted. That's the beauty of Android. It's very good at, you know, being in standby. The issue with, again, these lower-end Linux-based devices, because I know you may argue, well, you know, Linux is a broad term, because the Steam Deck is considered a Linux-based handheld as well, right? And this obviously can load up really fast and play everything pretty well. But obviously what I'm trying to get at is the lower base Linux handhelds that aren't even strong enough to run something broad like Android are gonna have to have their own custom Linux OS, and because of that, they're usually very dumbed down and yeah, they can't actually do much. You're gonna have to go out of your way to tinker and install your own version of RetroArch, and of course there are many tutorials and way to do this, but it's not as seamless. So yeah, even booting it up, it has a very long boot time, and again, it's not going to be good in standby, so I'm going to have to turn it completely off every time I want to play it. And as we wait for this to open up, I can easily just press this, press A, and press A again, and boom, I'm already booted into a game. It's just that easy. There you go, I'm already playing it. But here, we have to sit and wait, and that's the problem with all of these sub $100 Linux-based devices, and that is why I prefer this so much more, because, again, with Android, you can do so much more. It becomes like a phone. It's pocketable, it can literally go into standby, you don't have to worry about the battery depleting, everything and more, and again, you can install and do everything just off of the device itself. There's no connecting to computer or anything like that. But yeah, you know, once it boots up, sure, this was less than $100 and it does the job, but you know, I can't customize it as much as I would be able with this, with every separate emulator being its own app, being able to get into it, all of that jazz. Yeah, again, you'll have your own version of RetroArch or whatever type of OS you installed with what is already, you know, pre-configured in it, and you can adjust that and everything, but it's not the same. It's not the same. That's why I highly suggest Android-based handhelds, because in terms of getting into retro handhelds and being able to do everything you want on it and more, this is the way to go. But okay, if we can't compare the many sub $100 ones, like the many Ambernicks out there, yeah, don't be deceived by the many selections you have, especially through Ambernick, because again, you're not going to have Android on it, and because of that, it's going to be a lot slower. This one didn't take as long, but again, using something like Open Dingus X isn't going to be as nice as using an Android-based operating system. But to compare it to another Android-based handheld, and actually my previous recommendation for my go-to recommended budgeted handheld, that being the Retroid Pocket 2S. Yes, this console, ever since it came out, I feel like the boom of retro handhelds became a thing, because this set the standard. This was the go-to standard for retro handhelds, and honestly, ever since then, everything has been sort of emulating this concept. Now, this is a successor to Retroid's Retroid Pocket 2. The Pocket 1 just does not exist. You can't even find it anymore because it was probably an abomination. But yeah, this was the first Android-based, you know, handheld that really took things off. And ever since then, and believe it or not, it was only like 5 years ago, so many devices. I mean, these companies like Ayaneo and AYN, which all seem to be very similar to one another. I mean, the theory is that Retroid, AYN, and Ayaneo all are under one parented company, because, like, let's be honest, their products are so identical, it's kind of unreal. Everything has the exact same Hall effect sticks, everything has the same kind of Vita-esque D-pad, and just overall they seem to really emulate each other's concepts. And I mean, they're all Chinese companies, so them copying each other isn't much of a surprise, but yeah, just the fact that borderline manufacturer-wise, they're probably at least using the exact same manufacturer. It just seems like these are all different brand companies, but borderline are giving us identical products. And yeah, currently now, what's the 2026 go-to recommendation would be this Pocket Air Mini by Ayaneo, but up until then, it was the Retroid Pocket 2S. Like, this was the holy grail of retro and kind of 4:3-ish aspect ratio handhelds, because yeah, I mean, I would still recommend this. The only issue is they don't sell this anymore. I even got the metal one because I was such a fan of the original two and I saw so much potential, and this used like really crappy joysticks that the Switch uses and didn't have analog triggers. But again, once they made this version, I kid you not, it just set the standard for retro handhelds, and then these three companies just kept making more and more of this up until, yeah, now we have the Retroid Pocket 6 from Retroid, and it's essentially, you know, again, using very similar, you know, joysticks and D-pads and everything to one another. But yeah, essentially, this was the go-to standard. It was an Android-based handheld. It kind of started that whole concept and really made it like the go-to when you want to get into this kind of hobby. And well, sadly, this doesn't really exist anymore, and I'll be honest, it does feel pretty outdated. Like, in terms of the screen size, it's a bit smaller, the, saturation and brightness isn't as good, and overall, I mean, yeah, it's an older device. In the retro handheld scene, 1 year is like 10 years, so this being around 5 years old, yeah, it's ancient history. This is not even like half a year old, so that's why it'll be easy to get. You can get it straight from the source, Ayaneo's website or many other third-party retailers, and that's why, yeah, if I were to recommend a device that you can get for sub $100, it'd be this one because, again, sadly, while you could find this second-handed, you're not going to find it from Retroid themselves anymore. But putting that rant aside, while still staying on the topic of Retroid, I want to show off the Retroid Pocket Mini. Now, I have the version 1 and not version 2, which essentially has a bigger screen. Believe it or not, the screen isn't any different. It's just Retroid actually added their own bezels to make the screen aspect ratio different, which is really, really dumb on them. But the reason why I'm showing this is a $200 Android-based handheld, again, by Retroid. And as you can tell, it's, yeah, much more premium. It has a front glass display. It can play GameCube really damn well because of its chipset. So overall, it's just genuinely a much better upgrade than this one. But just in comparison, knowing that this is $100 more, so sub $200, yeah, it is obviously feels and looks and will play games better, but it's not that much different if, again, you're looking for just classic games like SNES and Game Boy Advance and N64 and PS1 being the cap of, modern retro that you want to play. This will do all of that and more with fast forward and upscales and everything. You're going to get the whole emulation experience on this. But again, if you're looking for something a little bit more powerful, you want to play PS2, you want to play GameCube, hell, you even want to play 3DS, then yeah, you're going to have to go for something a little bit more expensive. But in general, like, yeah, this has OLED and everything, all the bells and whistles, but if you're willing to compromise just a little bit and pay half of the price, yeah, you'll get something that, again, is pretty good. Like, when I look at these two in, side by side, quality-wise, they feel exactly the same. I mean, again, ignoring the front glass display, but in terms of the plastic, like, my Retroid Pocket Mini actually broke a little bit when I was trying to mod it, because, yeah, I tried to turn it, obviously, into a GameCube Mini, if you couldn't tell by its design. They don't sell this colorway or anything. I had to customize it myself, but, yeah, in general, it is nice, it is premium, but, like, if I were to go out and, let's say, just play while I'm at a park or something, I wouldn't want to take this, because if I were to drop it, dude, that glass display is done for. So what makes this special to me, and the reason why I would want to buy it, even though I have so many other alternatives, is the fact that because it's so cheap, and again, this is why I would highly recommend it, not just for newcomers who don't want to spend too much getting into this hobby, but also for people who are like me, who have all the other premium retro devices, but just don't want to risk, taking it out of the house and having it break or anything. Then this will, yeah, be way, way better on, not only your pocket, but your peace and mind, because, yeah, you're not gonna have to worry if I drop this, then it's ruined. I can buy another one. Like, this is not that expensive. I could justify maybe getting another one, or justify just parting ways with it. And again, with it just being plastic and not full front glass display, I'm sure it can withstand a couple drops, hopefully. I mean, I'm not gonna test, but I assume maybe it could. In general, I won't feel as guilty if something did happen to this. And of course, because it's Android based, if something were to happen to it and I want to swap everything that I had on it into this, I can easily do that, because, yeah, of course, every single retro handheld that I've ever mentioned, even up until the Retroid Pocket 2S, they all take memory cards. I mean, you can put an SD card in it. Each and every single one has a slot for that, so they all can expand in memory. And because of that, if and when I'm done with this device and I want to upgrade or move on, or again, it broke, I can easily just pop out the memory card, take everything I have, and just put it onto a new one. Yeah, it will require a little bit of configuration and setting up, but for the most part, I'm not going to lose my ROMs, I'm not going to lose my save files, I'm not going to lose anything, and it's so seamless. I mean, hell, all I do is pretty much back up everything that's on these and then put it onto another one with a new SD card in it. That way I make each and every single one playable, and each and every single one is up to date to my current library, which again is super convenient. So now that we got the comparisons out of the way, let's now take one last look at this device and see everything it has to offer. So in terms of face buttons, it has the Nintendo layout with the A, B, X, Y buttons being in this position, which makes it perfect for retro games like NES, SNES, and of course Game Boy games. I mean, yeah, this layout is perfect if you're aiming specifically for Nintendo, but one thing generally I do like about it is they're not colored in, like in terms of the letters on the face buttons, unlike, you know, other handhelds which might have that. And because of that, let's say I'm playing PlayStation or something, it just feels weird to see. So luckily I can't actually see the buttons unless I'm like angling it perfectly under some decent lighting, and I genuinely do prefer that because yeah, I actually would honestly prefer if all companies just didn't label the buttons at all, because we're playing Xbox, Android, you know, Nintendo, PlayStation, and it's kind of lame to have the face buttons be specific to one, you know, system or console or, you know, company. And yeah, sadly, this is based off of the Nintendo one, and actually, they really go in on the Nintendo colors with the other models. So there are two other colorways. Of course, I got the pure black because I'm not a fan of, you know, any of the other colorways, and I just kind of like my stuff being black and sleek. It overall looks better. If you couldn't tell with my other handhelds, I usually go for that. But yeah, I went with the black model, but there are two other colors. In terms of the D-pad, they went with something a little bit different. I did mention how, again, the idea is because they're all one parent company, they use very similar manufacturer, and yeah, usually they use the Vita D-pad, but no, this one is different, and it feels way different than the Vita D-pad. It's a lot more mushier, and because of that, it feels more Nintendo-esque, unlike, you know, PlayStation-esque, which is nice, again, specifically for Nintendo emulation. The analog sticks, like I mentioned, they are Hall effect, and yeah, they feel super nice, but in terms of like compared to other retro handhelds, you can tell they're a lot smaller. But again, that is to really bring home the point that it's meant to be pocket friendly. Because yeah, if you look at like the Retroid Pocket Mini, which again is borderline the same size and overall the same thickness, the analog sticks themselves protrude way more, and because of that, they'll clip on your pocket. But this one, I'm not gonna lie, it does the job. So yeah, you are sacrificing the feel and overall the size of it, but because of that, you get it more pocket friendly, and that overall is really nice. And of course, they have start and select right here. I don't really like having them here. I'd prefer them like up top, kind of like, again, other retro handhelds, but again, you'll get used to it. That is not that big of a deal. And then over here, they have two unique buttons. This one, I'm assuming, is just a back button. Yep. And then this is their custom, you know, Ayaneo space button, which allows you to customize the colors and everything else, including like, you know, toggling on, you know, Wi-Fi, fan, whatever, Bluetooth. Yeah, it's a nice shortcut thing. And obviously the launcher I'm using is AYN's built-in launcher, Ayaneo. For some reason, I want to call it AYN because, again, the names are so identical, but no. Ayaneo's built-in launcher, but again, I prefer to use Emulation Station. I make this my main launcher because I only want to play retro games, especially on a device that's, you know, on the weekend and not strong like this, that I would want to play retro and modern Android games. Like, yeah, I have a bunch of Android games, as you can see, that run really well. This you're going to kind of want to stay away from. Also, with the fact with it being like a 4:3 aspect ratio, you're not really going to want to play games or do things that require having a 16:9. It's going to look really weird. Like a good example would be PSP games. Well, PSP runs really well because this has, again, a decent enough chipset to play up until PS1 and PSP flawlessly with even fast forwarding just like that. So we can have it go 10 times the speed. And again, this is why I generally do prefer handheld emulation over playing with the actual hardware, because being able to save state, being able to fast forward, again, this applies for everything, including you know, SNES and everything else. So like, here we go, Link is zipping up and down, yeah, just like that. So nice. And with this being a 60Hz display, the fast forward doesn't look too choppy or anything, luckily. Of course, compared to something that has like 120 Hz display, you'll notice the difference with fast forwarding, but come on, that's definitely nitpicking if there is any. But yeah, it can fast forward through, again, like I said, up until PS1 pretty well without any issues, and overall have multiple apps open at the same time without much slowdown, and everything about it is pretty good. Like, again, for it being less than $100, you're not going to notice many compromises. Now, again, I mentioned there are analog triggers, which are Hall effect, which make it really nice in terms of its sensors. They shouldn't go bad on you. But also, we have normal shoulder buttons and these weird extra like stealth buttons. So if I click this, as you can see, it looks like I'm not clicking anything. But no, of course my camera isn't gonna focus on it properly, is it? But there are like, yeah, 2 stealth buttons right here that just kind of press in, which are kind of nice because, yeah, I can open up pretty much like the system actions by clicking that. Of course, I mean, maybe I could have had it be on a different button, but I do like the fact that we do have these. And of course we have the volume buttons and of course the power button with a, you know, vent, and of course on the back for airflow and everything. And yeah, overall the device in itself, again, just feels so premium, is so, you know, pocket friendly. Overall, just the vibe, the feel, everything about it, I really do love it. It's hard to imagine that, again, this is less than $100, especially with what you can play on it. But okay, now let's go ahead and check out the games it can play. So of course, like mentioned and like shown, it can play NES and SNES pretty well. It can even play PlayStation Portable, but what you'd find looking better on this, again, with it having a CRT aspect ratio, is games like PlayStation 1 games or even PS2. So let's boot up Final Fantasy IX on the PlayStation 1. And again, with this being emulated, I can not only fast forward, which I'm going to show, and upscale the resolution, but also I can go ahead and, let's go ahead and do this, load my save state, which is just still in the beginning of the game, but just to kind of showcase how it looks. So yeah, look at that. We have it upscaled, so the game in itself just looks a lot cleaner. It's kind of hard to tell in Final Fantasy games where they have pre-rendered backgrounds, but trust me, VV is definitely looking pretty crispy. And of course, if I want to fast forward, I can. Whoa, look at that. We're going way too fast, which is super nice because, yeah, you can overclock the hell out of your emulators and have them go super fast. And because of that, it makes games like Final Fantasy, a grind-heavy game, super nice to play today because I don't have to sit and grind so slowly. I can fast forward through all that bullcrap. But yeah, again, showing a game like this, it runs flawlessly. There are no slowdowns. Again, I can get away with upscaling everything up to 720p, so at least 3 times the resolution, and it looks really damn good. Of course, you don't want to upscale it more than that because the screen in itself can only do 720p. So yeah, games like, again, PlayStation 1, and I guess the competitor for that, that would be the Nintendo competitor, would be N64. So let's go ahead and check out that. And what is nice is if you do have this as your launcher, yeah, every time you close any app, anything, it will automatically reboot up Emulation Station, which is just so nice. But let's go ahead and, yeah, boot up N64 games. We'll do, I guess, Ocarina of Time, because I probably have a save there. Again, just booted it up. I haven't had this device for more than, like, a week or so, because while this is booting up, I may as well talk about this. Yeah, Ayaneo has been going through a lot of, I guess, controversy recently because they have a lot of shipping issues. Hell, they produce a product almost every 2 weeks, and because of that, they're not able to meet the demand, and just overall, they seem to be under a lot of heat, but luckily they are responding to it well. And while this was all happening, I had already ordered this and was waiting for it to come in the mail, but luckily it came in. And like I said, not only did it come in pretty quickly after they addressed the controversy, but they even added in a carry case, because again, I did not pay more than $100 for this whole thing, including shipment, and they gave me the carry case for free alongside I believe, a screen protector. And I don't know if those come with just every order, but mine came with it, which I thought was just really nice of them. So hopefully they are doing their best to do well by customers. I don't exactly know. This is the only product I ordered from them directly, and really the second product I own from them outright, because again, the only other product I have from them is the Pocket Micro, which, I bought it for the premium Game Boy Advance emulation, which again, I can do on this, but I'll be honest, I'd rather play on this if I'm going to go for Game Boy Advance. Again, this to me specializes in CRT, home base consoles, not handhelds that you are now turning into a handheld, like N64, SNES, PlayStation 1, and, little bits of GameCube and PlayStation 2. But okay, there you go. Here is my file, and as you can see, I have the quality upscaled. Again, not the best example when I have a pre-rendered background, but there you go. This looks much better. So we have Link looking pretty good. He's not as choppy again as he would be if I was playing this off of an N64, so I do have it upscaled to the proper resolution that I would want for this, and it runs pretty well. There's no slowdowns. I mean, I guess there's some emulation glitches, like when pressing start, but that usually happens even on, PC at times, so it's not that bad. Overall, you're not going to get any compromises. If anything, you'll get benefits to playing on this because you do get the upscale, and while, this emulator isn't the best with fast forwarding or anything, we can try to do that. Okay, there you go. Yeah, and it works, so it can even be overclocked and run faster, so it's running N64 more than fine if it can fast forward. So not bad actually. Navi is going crazy right now. But N64, as you can see, runs pretty damn well. Again, for a sub $100 handheld, God, this is pretty damn good, right? Let's go ahead and also check DS. I don't think I've set this up though, so let me quickly set this up and then we'll see how it runs. We'll do Phantom Hourglass, probably the most visually demanding game that has a lot of artifacts because of it. So 1 second. All right, there we go. It took about a minute to set up, and that's the beauty of it being Android, using the apps, which I'm using Melon DS, so I can easily just set everything up super fast. And let's go ahead and now boot up Phantom Hourglass. And again, the beauty of this 4:3 aspect ratio is the fact that DS games have a similar aspect ratio as well, not just old home console CRT games, but Nintendo also kind of had that for the DS, which is going to be really nice looking. Even though we can only use one screen, I find it pretty nice because let's go ahead and boot it up, and it's, if you just swap between screens, have the screen swap through a button just like that, we can easily see what we need to see at any time. And it's not bad. I mean, there are still artifacts, but this is common just with Melon DS and Phantom Hourglass in general. But overall, in terms of it running, it runs really smoothly. Like, graphically, that's not really the chipset's fault. That's just more so the emulator's fault. If I were to play a different game like Pokemon, it should run flawlessly with ×3 the resolution. As you can tell, Link is looking pretty crispy here. And obviously I'm using a D-pad mod in which I can use the D-pad and actually attack. This is not how Phantom Hourglass normally plays. Normally you'd have to do this. But of course, if you want to use the touchscreen, you can. So even DS games, they're not limited, and again, they run pretty damn well. But let's try this with something like Pokemon. It's less graphically intensive, so it shouldn't have any visual bugs. And in general, you know, I feel like more people are more likely to play Pokemon, and using an emulator with being able to transfer your save state, and all that jazz, yeah, playing games like Pokemon are far better played on an emulator than anything else. So let's go ahead and jump into it. But again, being able to swap the screen with just the push of a button is so nice. And whoa, look at that. Yeah, Ho-Oh has never looked so good, because again, we got a 3 times upscale, and you can truly see that. Normally, Ho-Oh would look very pixelated, even in that 3D model. But speaking of pixel art, that should transition real nicely, and oh my god, it does. Yeah, that is beautiful. It runs flawlessly. Let's see if it benefits from a speed up. Not really. Again, I don't think it'll be able to really speed things up on DS, because again, DS requires a little bit more, and with this chipset, it's not as strong. But again, at least you can play DS in upscaled resolution and maybe get some fast forwarding benefit from it, but that's not the main selling point. At least DS looks pretty damn good on it. But yeah, I already showed off SNES, and technically that would apply for NES. We've seen DS, we've seen N64. Let's go ahead and take a quick look at Game Boy Advance, just to show it off. I mean, if SNES can run flawlessly, Game Boy Advance will as well, but might as well just quickly show it just to see how it runs, especially with the fast forward feature. Oh, it's so nice. So if I go and press it, boom, we're in the minish cap just like that. And yeah, of course, with, again, the aspect ratio being more fitting for a CRT, yeah, Game Boy Advance is a bit wider, so because of that, the aspect ratio does, you know, leave some black bars on the top and bottom, but it doesn't look that bad. They're not that noticeable. And yeah, just overall, you get still a bigger screen than you would if I was using something that has no black bars, like the Pocket Micro. So yeah, while this is essentially the perfect aspect ratio, because the screen is just generally bigger, I still get more, you know, real estate. And yeah, I get to enjoy, you know, a bigger screen, even if, again, it has some black bars that don't look so pretty. But yeah, Game Boy Advance runs, of course, flawlessly. As you can see, I'm pretty far in the minish cap. This is I just transfer my save file to each and every handheld that I'm currently using, and then, you know, whatever one I'm playing it on, I just continue to get further and further. That's, again, the beauty of them all being Android-based. I can easily transfer saves just like that seamlessly. I can just upload it through, like, Google Drive and download it. I don't even have to connect them to the computer or to one another or anything like that, because, again, it's Android-based, so I can just go and upload it myself seamlessly, and again, that's the beauty of it. Now, we've gotten a gist of the consoles that run well on it, and that pretty much applies from NES all the way until PlayStation 1. Maybe Dreamcast won't do too hot, but that's because the emulator just isn't the best. And yeah, if you do kind of mess around and tweak things, you can get it to run a little bit better. But we've seen a glimpse of GameCube, and yeah, sadly, it isn't as smooth. Even if you don't upscale the resolution at all, it just has a hard time. You can tell it really chugs when trying to play GameCube, and same obviously applies for Wii, so I don't really see a point in showing that. But yeah, I have booted up the Wind Waker, which I have been playing on my other retro handhelds, in specific this one, because this is literally the GameCube, you know, handheld for me. But yeah, I tried playing it on this, and again, while it has analog triggers and everything I need to comfortably play GameCube, it does have some slowdowns, as you can see, but this is something you can look past. Like, if you're someone who is so desperate to play your childhood GameCube game and you were only able to afford this and you got no other way of playing it, I mean, this works, you know? Maybe you can tinker with the settings and have, you know, the frames skip a little bit more, maybe lower the frame rate, maybe even lower the resolution. But overall, I mean, as you can see, this is with a lot of things going on. We have the cannons literally aiming at me, mini blends. This would cause major slowdown even on the GameCube. And yeah, for the most part, it does the job. And this is Wind Waker in particular. I mean, it varies from game to game. So already, you're not necessarily, you know, unable to play GameCube games at all. You're still able to play them, just not as smoothly as, you know, the other consoles. And sadly, the same thing applies for PlayStation 2 games. Again, you can get them to run, and they do, for the most part, play, but they're not going to play as well as, again, if you have something a little bit stronger, a little bit more expensive like this. Alright, so here we have Dark Cloud booted up, and as you can see, yeah, it is pretty slow. Like, it's definitely not running in real time, and that is also because I do have it upscaled, so let me lower the resolution and see if it runs any better. So it does only have it on a 1.5 upscale, which isn't much. Let's go ahead and drop it down to like a 0.5, so even lower than the actual, you know, normal resolution, and it looks horrible and still runs pretty poorly. So yeah, while you can get insane overclocking speed on the PS1, the PS2 just ain't really doing the job on this. But again, that's what you get for paying only, again, less than $100, $70 to $80 for this, which again is still a really good price point for just being able to even get into this kind of hobby and be able to play so many games, again, all the way up until PS1 pretty well. But yeah, to show you an example of what it would look like if it was running on a stronger chipset, here is the Wind Waker on the Retro Pocket Mini. And as you can see, yeah, much smoother. So again, this kind of emulation does exist. It's just you gotta get a stronger, you know, handheld. But again, this really does the job for its price. But yeah, that about covers it for the Ayaneo Pocket Air Mini. Again, my current recommendation for anyone who wants to get into retro handheld gaming and wants to start off with, again, something of quality so you're not compromising just for the price. This will get you both decent price and really, really good quality. I cannot recommend it more, I'll be honest. So I had to make this video regardless of what Ayaneo is going through. I really feel like those who are wanting to get into this, especially with this channel, probably bringing in some Zelda fans or just people who aren't really into this kind of niche, yeah, go pick up this if you can, because you're not going to be disappointed. My second recommendation that would be above $200 would be something like this if you're looking for something that doesn't have analog sticks and is more, you know, DMG-like, you know, like a classic Game Boy. This is the Retroid Pocket Classic. It has an OLED screen and overall is a really good budget handheld for its price point as well, that being like $120, $130. I could totally make a video about this. If you are interested, let me know. But again, my favorite, and again, the cheapest I will spend and want would be something like this, because yeah, for 70 bucks, you get something that is ergonomically so comfortable, and again, it does everything you need in terms of retro gaming. So yeah, this is the best kind of budget handheld to get right now in 2026. Well, again, there are other options that are probably older and harder to get that you might have to get second-handed as well. This is something you can buy first party from Ayaneo themselves, and again, pay less than $100, including shipping, to have it at your doorstep. So yeah, it's really hard not to recommend. I'm really glad I picked it up, because again, it's really nice just to be able to play this anywhere, take it with me, and not feel like, oh, if I dropped it, this several $100s, I can't live with myself knowing that happened. So yeah, this is just kind of nice to chuck in my bag and just take with me and not have to worry about it, because it's budget friendly and I don't feel like I'm compromising with the retro games I'm playing, because it plays them all flawlessly. At least, you know, again, the ones that do run well, run really damn well. So yeah, that about does it for this video. Let me know what other retro handheld or any other thing you'd like to hear me talk about, because again, if you couldn't tell, I absolutely love this. I can't get enough of it. This is so much fun, so I hope you guys are even enjoying these videos a fraction as much as I enjoy making them. Please let me know in the comments below. Subscribe, leave a like to show your support. That about does it for this one. I'll see you in the next one of Triforce Tech.